Welcome to Excel and Business Math video number 18. Hey, in this video, we got to talk about percents and a lot about percentage number formats in Excel. We're going to see all these examples, including fractional percentage number formatting, and we'll do some of this by hand, including the percentages that give some of us trouble, partial percentages and fractional percentages. Now, here are our topics, but before we go over to Excel, we got to go look at our PDF notes. Now, the first few pages in our PDF notes are a review from video 10, but we got to remind ourselves, division, anytime we do 6 divided by 100, we're asking how many hundreds in 6. When we actually do the division, we get our decimal, and when we format it, remember, percentage number formatting is a formatted symbolic representation of a number. When we go from one of these numbers into the formatted percentage realm, this represents these numbers. And what does a percentage mean? A percent always means how many parts in 100. So when we see 6%, we're really saying 6 parts for every 100. Next page in our notes, rules for percents. We saw this back in video 10, but we got to remind ourselves, percents are not numbers. They are formatted symbolic representations of numbers. So how do we go from a number to a percentage? Here it is, 1, 2. Multiply number by 100, or slide the decimal 2 places to the right. It is this step that means we are formatting, because if you multiply or slide decimals, you're actually changing the number. After we do step 1, we add a percentage symbol. So by hand, we either take 0.06 and multiply it by 100, or simply slide the decimals. We get a 6. Remember, 6 is not equal to 0.06. That's how you know this is not a number. It's just formatting it to represent that number. Once we get our 6, we add the percentage symbol. Remember, the meaning of percent is how many parts in 100. Now, next page, just as in video 10, pattern to notice. Anytime the numerator is smaller than the denominator, we get a decimal less than 1, and our percentages are less than 100%. Anytime the numerator and denominator are equal, we always get the number 1, and if we format it, we get 100%. Anytime the numerator is bigger than the denominator, we're going to get a number bigger than 1, and our percentage will be more than 100%. Next page, parts of 100. That's what you got to think when you see a percentage. 6% means 6 parts for every 100. 50% means 50 parts for every 100. 100% means 100 parts for every 100. 150% means 150 parts for every 100. 500% means 500 parts for every 100. Examples, 6% tax rate means 6 pennies for every 100 pennies or $1. 100%, think of test score. That means you got 100 correct out of 100 questions, or like on your quiz in this class, I know this is really small, 30 out of 30. Remember, it doesn't matter if it's 130 or 0.06. That means 100% means the numerator and denominator are equal. An example for greater than 100%, think of a company reporting earnings or profits compared to last year. 150% increase in profits means for every 100 pennies or $1 last year, you made 150 pennies or $1.5 this year. Next page. Now, we already talked about going from a number to a percent, but we have to know how to convert a percent to a number. Step 1, drop percentage symbol. Step 2, divide by 100 or slide the decimal 2 places to the left. Here's some examples. 100%, whoop, whoop. Notice right there, that would mean the decimal is right there. That's 1. 10%, whoop, whoop. That means the decimal is going to be right before the 1, so it would look like that. Decimal 0.10, or just 0.1. What about 1%? Whoop, whoop. We are sliding the decimal to the left. If there's nothing there, you just put a 0 and put a decimal there. We get decimal 0.01. Remember, 1%, if you think of a tax rate, that means you pay 1 penny for every $1. You could think of this decimal as 1 penny. 1 penny out of 100. Ooh, how about this one? You're given 0.75%. You slide the decimal. Whoop, whoop. There's nothing there, so you actually have to put 2 zeros and then put the decimal out here. You would end up with 0.0075. How about 500%? Whoop, whoop. Oh, look at that. The decimal's to the right of 5, so we're left with 5. Next page. This is one that oftentimes trips people like me up, or others also. Less than 1%. Here's the trick. 100%, think of 1. 10%, think of 0.1. 1%, think of 0.01. You should memorize this. When you see 1%, think of a tax rate if you want. 1 penny out of 100 pennies. That's what it looks like if we're listing dollars or pennies. 0.01. So I memorize this. Anytime I see 1%, I just immediately think, okay, 0.01. What about this one? As soon as you see the decimal and some numbers after and a percentage symbol, I do not see a 1 right here. So I automatically know this is less than 1%. That's the underlying number. And as soon as you see 0.5%, I don't see a 1 here, so I know it's not 1%. It's got to be less than 1%. If you can't remember it that way, just slide the decimal. The decimal's way over here. So it would be right there, 2 zeros and a 5. All right, next page. This is the killer one. Be careful of fractional percentages. When you see a 0.5%, that means 1/2 of 1%. Now, even if you don't memorize it this way, we can use our rule. If you apply the rule to convert percentages to numbers, well, guess what? We were given a fraction. I actually have to take that fraction and make the division to get the decimal. But if we fully apply our steps, 1/2%, what do? Well, first we drop the percent. Oh, there it is. Well, wait a second. I took the percentage away. I'm given a fraction. I don't see any decimal to slide. That reminds me I have to do the division. So when I say, how many 2's are in 1? Well, there's not a full 2 in 1. So I put the decimal, bring the decimal up here, put a 0 and a 0 up there. How many 2's are in 10? 5. Whoop, I put the 5 right there, so 0.5. That's just the starting point. That's just the decimal. Now we need to slide. So we go whoop, whoop, put a 0 there, even though it's empty when we slid the decimal, and we're left with 0.005. Next page. It is very common for business news to communicate in fractional percentages, whether you're listening to the radio or the television or a podcast or an article. You might hear on the nightly news, the stock market increased by 0.2%. 0.2% means 0.2 of, notice that's multiplying, 1%. As soon as you see 0.2%, just realize it means 0.2 of 1%. So whatever the result is, it's going to be less than 0.01. So 0.2%. You could write it this way, meaning we kept the symbol here, did our division. When we did our division, we had 0.2. If If I take 2 divided by 10, that's the answer. I kept the percentage symbol. You might see it that way, right? But when we do our final conversion, we have to slide that decimal to get 0.002. You also might see it written like this. The stock market increased by 0.2%. Next page. We just want to make sure that we think of the words percent or percentages correctly. Now, really, as history has moved on, there's less insistence on using these correctly. But it's not that hard. Percent used when you're referring to a specific percent, like 2%. Notice I have the number there, 2% of the racers did not finish the race. Percentage, general word, used when you are not referring to a specific percent, like the percentage of racers who do not finish the race has decreased. Notice there's no direct reference to a specific percentage. All right, next page. Now, we're going to go over to Excel. We're going to come back and look at the pages after page 10 in our PDF notes. But now we want to go over to Excel. Now, over here in Excel, we're on the sheet percent number format. And our goal is to take each one of these numbers and apply a percentage number formatting based on our goal over here. So for the first number, I need to show 2 decimals. For the next one, when I format it in this column right here, I need to show 0 decimals. Now, we're going to do the same thing as we did with fractional number formatting. We're going to type in our own code to define the custom number formatting. Now, the code for percent number formatting is easy. When we use the percent symbol, we type it in as a code. It will always display the underlying number by sliding the decimal 2 positions to the right. We'll also use 0, which will show significant and insignificant digits. That's how we get a 0.06 to show up. 0 means if there's a number in that position, it'll show it. Otherwise, it'll show 0. Now, let's first bring the numbers from the number column over to this column where we're going to do our formatting. Equal sign, left arrow, Control Enter, and then double click and send it down. All right, we have our decimals, and now we can apply our percentage number formatting. Now, before doing it using custom code, let's just look at the built-in option, number, drop down, and there it is. It will always slide the decimal positions 2 to the right and show 2 decimals. If I select this one, there it is. It, on the surface of the spreadsheet, took the decimal and went whoop, whoop. There's a decimal between the 6 and the 2, and then added the percent symbol. Notice the 0 there. There's not a digit there. It's not like there's a 1 to 9. There was nothing there. It's just 6.2. But because, as we'll see in just a moment, we used the code 0, it knew to put a 0 there. Let's go look. Control-1 to open up Format Cells on the Number tab. You can see the drop-down will always apply percentage with 2 decimals. Now, we can go see what this code is. We learned this trick a couple videos ago by selecting Custom. And there it is. It tells us how to type in custom number formatting to show percentage with 2 decimals. The zeros, that shows the significant 6, the significant 2, and the insignificant, because there was nothing there, 0. So we put 0.00, and that percentage symbol is what slides the decimal. Watch this. If I backspace, you can see the sample right there. We told custom number formatting to show a lead 0 before the decimal point, a 0, and then a 6. The first 2 are insignificant because there's no digit there besides 0, and then a 6. But when we put our percentage symbol, look at that. It slides the decimal, whoop, whoop, and we have our percentage number format. Let's click OK. Now, let's, with our goal, show 0 decimal places. With the cell selected, the other built-in percentage formatting is this one. If we click on that actual button for percentage, it will always show us the percent with 0 decimals showing. Control-1, notice there it is, the built-in one. But if we go down to custom, we can see, sure enough, just 0 and a percentage symbol will display it without any decimals. Click OK. Now let's go look at our third example. Here's our decimal. Our goal is to show 2 decimals, and we want to build it using custom. So I select the cell, Control 1, come down to custom. I can see the fully unformatted number there. But let's highlight General, type a 0.00. We need to show 2 decimals. And watch this. As soon as I type percentage symbol, it slides the decimal 2 to the right and displays it as 6.76%. Now you have full control. 0, 0, there's 4 of them, right? However many zeros you have after the decimal is how many decimals will be applied in this percentage number formatting. Now I'm going to backspace, and leave it because our goal was to show it with only 2 decimals. Click OK. Now let's try this one down here. Control 1, custom, down to type 0 point, and I want to show all 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a percentage symbol. And there we have it. We are applying percentage number formatting with 4 decimals showing. Click OK. These are the actual custom number formatting codes we've entered so far. Now, the next 5 examples, these whole numbers, there's a 1.5, that's a decimal. And these decimals down here, I want to display them all with 2 decimals. If that's the case, we can use number, drop-down, built-in percentage number formatting. For each one of these, look what it did. It took the decimal, whoop, whoop, slid it 2 to the right, added the percentage symbol. Same with this. Whoop, whoop. The 2 becomes 500. Now notice with 0.33333, if I click in the cell and hit F2, notice I entered this in as a fractional formula, 1 divided by 3, because that's the easiest way to get a repeating decimal in. But what does this percentage number formatting do? It takes a decimal and 1, 2. Now there's lots of repeating decimals, but here, because we have 0.00, it's only going to display 0.33. 1/2. Now that is number formatting Control 1. Just as we saw over the last few videos, that's the custom number formatting for a fraction. Question mark / question mark. Now, of course, underneath that is 0.5. So when we applied our 0.00, it slid the decimal from 0.5. The decimal would have been right there, whoop, whoop, and that becomes 50%. Now, we would like to see how to show repeating decimals as a fractional percent. 1/3, when you do the division, it's 0.33333. And in Excel, there's 15 3s all in a row. But what I would like is right here, I'd like to see 33. And then instead of 0.33, I want 1/3 of a percent. So no problem. We can do that if we mix number formatting, and percentage number formatting. So with the cell selected, Control 1, down to custom. And right in type, we can see the sample. If I want to show a mixed number, I show pound, space, question mark / question mark. That's the number formatting for a mixed number. Now notice something. We were talking about zeros over here, significant and insignificant. The pound symbol is a digit holder just like 0, but it does not display insignificant. It'll only show a whole number there if there is one. Now, our number there is 0.3333, or represented as a fraction, 1/3. But watch what happens. I'm going to combine the mixed number formatting, and when I type a percentage symbol, it totally whoop, whoop, slides the decimal 2 to the right. That's what that percentage code does. Always slides 2 to the right, even if we have a mixed number formatting. And that's exactly what we want. 33%, and then a fractional percent, 1/3 of 1%. Now I click OK. And there is our custom number formatting to show in our case, a mixed number percent. Now, remember those 33 right there, that's 33 out of 100. And then that 1/3 of 1% is 1/3 of that position right there. The 33 out of 100, if we look at the decimal, it's those two threes, 0.33. All of the remaining threes, that's the 1/3 of 1%. Now, our next four examples, we have 0.003 listed 3 times, and then a 0.013. I'm going to highlight all 4, and I'm going to use the button Show 0 decimal places with a percentage number format. So I'm going to click that button. Notice it's displaying it as a percent, whoop, whoop, but with 0 decimal places. So I'm going to leave that one there. That whole decimal is still underneath that one. But here's another way that we can apply percentage number formatting. I've applied the built-in one, but I'm certainly allowed to come up to the decimals. Increase decimal, I can click it 1 time. Notice our goal of showing 1 decimal has been accomplished. Now, we can do the same thing here. We can come up to increase decimal and boop, boop. Now, what it did underneath is it actually applied the custom number format 0.00 and a percentage symbol. And in fact, anytime we use either decrease or increase decimals, underneath it's just adding zeros or taking away zeros from the custom number formatting. Let's prove that to ourselves. Control-1. And sure enough, if we go down to custom, there it is, 0.00 and a percent symbol. Click OK. Now I'm going to show 2 decimals here using increase decimal. Now I want to notice something here. That decimal right there, there's 1%. That's actually the ones position when you're talking about percentage number formatting. But the actual number, it's not the ones position. It's the hundredths position. Not only that, but when we're looking at the percentage number formatting, 0.3, that's the tenths position for the percentage number formatting. Now that's important because a lot of people communicate percentages and talk about the positions, this as the ones position or a single percentage point position, and this as the tenths position for our percent number formatting. But remember, underneath, it's quite different. That 3 is really in the thousandths position, and the 1 is in the hundredths position. Now, that'll become more important next video when we talk about rounding percentages. But for us, just be aware that people will communicate the decimal part of a percentage as either tenths or hundredths. Now, what we want to do in our next example here, this is the same number as 1, 2, 3 with different number formatting. But I want to display this just as 1/3 percent, which would be 1/3 of 1%. Now, for this example, 0.003, and for 0.002, I actually want to compare and contrast 2 different custom number formattings. Now, back when we did fractions, $/10, that would be hard coding the denominator. And we also have the option when 2 digits are in the denominator using $?question?. The difference here is we'll add the percentage symbol. Now, I want to see what happens when we apply these two to our 0.003. Let's try the first one. Control-1, down to custom, $/, and then I'm going to hard code the 10 in because I always want it to show up as a tenth. Notice I haven't added the percentage symbol, but as soon as I do, it slides the decimal. And there it is, 3/10 of 1%. That is a fractional percentage. All right, click OK. Now let's try same number. Control-1, custom, $?, ? So the difference is we typed in 2 question marks instead of our 10. Now we apply percentage code, and there it is, exactly the same thing. Now when you use question marks, as we saw many times in the last few videos, it will always try and reduce if it can. Well, 3/10 doesn't reduce anymore. 3 is a prime number. In the denominator would be 2 and 5. So that can't reduce. So in this situation, question would work. Click OK. But when we have 2/10 of 1%, notice 2 divided by 10. Well, that can reduce to 1/5. So with this cell selected, Control 1, and let's try custom question/, and then our percent symbol. Now that's an accurate number. 1 divided by 5 is exactly equal to 2 divided by 10 as a decimal. So if that's what you want, that's OK. Click OK. Notice question, it displays, in essence, significant and insignificant, but without zeros. You can see it has a position there, but there's nothing showing. Now let's do 0.002 or 0.2%, Control 1. But now we're going to type question mark slash 10 in the denominator to hard code it in, question mark. Now this is very common. Again, lots of people communicate percentages in tenths. So 2/10 is oftentimes used rather than 1/5. Click OK. And there we have done a bunch of different percentage number formattings using either custom and type in our own code, or a combination of either the dropdown for 2, which is what I use a lot because that's oftentimes the requirement, or you can use that button and increase or decrease decimals. Now, we want to go back to our PDF notes. All right, I'm on page 11 in the PDF notes, and we want to look at a few methods for converting by hand. Then we'll do all these examples over in Excel. So if we're trying to convert 0.005 to a percent, manually we just boop, boop. We've moved the decimal 2 positions to the right, and then we add a percentage symbol. All right, convert 0.062 FICA tax rate to a percent. Slide the decimal, write your percentage symbol. Now, how about converting a percentage to a decimal? We want to convert 0.75. Well, first we drop the symbol and we get this, and now we move the decimal. Whoop, whoop. We get 0.0075. How about an easy one? Convert 25% to a number, drop the symbol. Whoop, whoop. Now we're going to the left, and there's the number or the decimal. Fraction to a percent, convert 1/2 to a percent. Well, first we have to do the division. So I get 0.5. Since I'm going from a number to a percentage, I slide whoop, whoop, 2 to the right, and then add a percentage symbol. How about 1/3 to a percentage? Well, wow, I have to keep doing my division. I get these repeating 3s. I'm eventually going to say, hey, there's a remainder 1 somewhere there. But I have a decimal. Boop, boop. So the decimal would go right there, and then I add a percentage symbol. If I wanted to show it as a fractional percent or a mixed number, I'd take that remainder 1, put it over the denominator, and there it is, 33 1/3%. Example 7, converting 1/2 to a percentage. Well, 1/2 is really 2 times 2 plus 1 over 2, so 5 2s. If I do the division, I get 2.5. Now I can slide the decimal and add the percentage symbol. How about a percent to a fraction? There's a 12%, and we need to get it to a fraction. Well, 12%, we have to drop the symbol, then slide the decimal, whoop, whoop, 2 to the left. We are left with 0.12. And as we saw a couple of videos ago, we can list 12 over 100 and then reduce. There's 2 2s in the numerator, 2 2s in the denominator. So it looks like 3 divided by 5 times 5, 3/25. One last example over here. Convert 0.75% to a fraction and then convert to a number. 3/4 of 1% back to a number. Well, first we drop the symbol. Then we do the division, getting 0.75. Then we slide, whoop, whoop. Or down here, whoop, whoop. And we're left with 0.0075. Now, if we wanted to convert that decimal to a fraction, we learned a couple of videos ago, we simply count how many times we slide the decimal. That's 4 positions, so I put a 1 and 4 zeros, and then I put 75 in the top. That is not reduced, but 75 over 10,000, that's equivalent to 0.0075. Now on page 15, just a reminder, when we format something as a percent, we see it like this. People will talk about it. This is the ones position or single percentage point position, and that's the tenths position. If we look at the number and the formatted percent, the words are totally different. That actually is the hundredths position. That's the thousandths position. Whereas when we format it, that's the ones position. That's the tenths position. On the next page, this is just a screenshot of what we did over in Excel. So for the Excel part of it, those are the two symbols we're going to combine to get whatever custom number formatting we want. We can also use fractional and mixed number as we saw. Remember, anytime you use the percentage symbol as code in number formatting, it slides the decimals 2 to the right. All right, let's go back over to Excel. All right, I'm on the sheet conversions. How do we go from this decimal to a percent? Well, easy. I'm going to say equal sign, left arrow, control, enter. There's the decimal. I'm using the built-in percentage number formatting, showing 2 decimals. How about this one? Decimal to percent? No problem. Bring the number over, apply built-in percentage number formatting. How about this one? Go from a percent to a decimal, equal sign, left arrow, control, enter. Oh, look at that. It brought the number formatting over, but no problem. Percentage to decimal is the easiest one of all in Excel. We simply come up and apply general. We are removing the percentage number formatting. And sure enough, 0.0075. Same thing here, equals, left arrow, control, enter. And I'm going to apply the general number formatting, 0.25. Fraction to percent, equal sign, left arrow, control, enter. It pulled that fractional number formatting. If I want 2 decimals, I come up and click percentage number formatting. Now here, equals, left arrow, control, enter. Let's go do custom. Control 1. I want to show it as 33 1/3%. So I'm going to, in the type for custom, type pound space question mark slash question mark, and then a percentage symbol. That percentage symbol slides the decimal 2 to the right. Click OK. And now I have 33 1/3%. 2.5, no problem. Equals, left arrow, control, enter. I want to show it with no decimal, so I'm going to use this button right there, 250%. Example 8, percentage to fraction. Well, as we talked about in all of the fraction videos, a lot of fractions mean that we have to either go through a bunch of steps or do it on a piece of paper to figure out what the correct denominator is. We already did this one, so equals, left arrow, control, enter. Control 1 to open up format cells. Down to custom. And we know that it's 3/25, so I can simply use question mark slash question question. There are no more reductions there. It's reduced as far as it can go. Click OK. Equal sign, left arrow, control, enter. Now control 1, I'm going to try and display this as 75 over 1,000, just as we had over in our PDF notes. So I'm going to come up, custom type. I'm going to type question, question, slash, and 75 over 10,000 can definitely be reduced. So I'm going to hard code the denominator, 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. We have 4 zeros, 1 for each time we slid the decimal, and then we have a 1. There's our sample. Click OK. All right, one last thing. We want to go over to the sheet fractional percent. If you see 0.3%, remember, it means 0.3 of 1%. Now the question is, if I'm given 0.3 as a formula input, how do I get that in as a number to even format it? Well, here's a cool cheater way. Equals, well, we know it's 0.3, which is 3 divided by 10. And then we need to slide the decimal 2 places to the left. Well, that's the same as dividing by 100. So that's a cheater way, control enter, to get exactly the number we want. Control 1, then I could use my fractional custom number formatting. Question mark slash question mark percent symbol. Oh, look at that. We didn't display enough decimals so I can either use question, question, or hard code the 10. I'm going to use question, question. Click OK. We could do the same thing for 7/10. Let's say the stock market went up 7/10 of 1% today equals 7 divided by 10 divided by 100. Control Enter. Watch this. I'm going to cheat. Right click. Format Painter. Click, and that will apply question slash question question percent. Let's do the same for 1/4%. Equals 1 divided by 4 divided by 100. Control Enter. 0.0025. Now I can do the same thing here. Right click, mini toolbar, format painter, and click. That will show that extra space there. If I don't want that, remember, Control 1. You can simply remove that question mark, click OK. Now, of course, if you can simply look at this and type the decimal in directly, you could think of it 3/10 of 1%. That 1% would be sitting at the penny position. So here's how I do it. 0.01. Well, wait a second. That's not going to work. That would be 1 penny or 1%. So I backspace, put a 0, and I know that the 3 comes next because it's 3/10 of that position right there. Control Enter. Control 1, custom, question slash question question, and a percentage symbol. There's my 3/10. Click OK. I can do the same thing for 7/10. 0.00. I know what comes next is 1/10 of a penny or a percentage point position. So I type that in. Control Enter. Right click, and on the mini toolbar, I can copy that number formatting with Format Painter. Click. All right, and then this one, 0.00, I know it's 1 divided by 4, and maybe I know that decimal as 25, so I can enter that. Control Enter, Control 1, custom, question slash question percentage symbol, and there it is, 1/4 of 1%. Click OK. All right, that was a lot of fun with percents and percentage number formatting. We saw how to enter fractional percents as a number and then format. We saw a bunch of conversions. We also saw these same conversions 1 to 9 over in the PDF notes. And we spent a lot of time on this sheet looking at all the different ways we can format numbers to display them as percentages. All right, if you like that video, be sure to click that thumbs up, leave a comment, and sub, because there's always lots more videos to come from excelisfun, including next video, number 19, we'll talk about rounding percentages. All right, we'll see you next video.